In this video, we're going to go deep with the Athlon Argos BTR Gen 2 8-34x56. Gavin here from UltimateReloader.com. We have been having some fun shooting this Winchester Model 70 22-250 with Boyds stock and Athlon scope. Let me share some of the fun with you now. Yes, that was fun, and I've got a complete, detailed, in-depth story about upgrading the stock on this rifle, and we also covered the unboxing of the BTR Gen 2 8-34x56. Let's take a look at that again. Okay, so the Weaver scope is in the past. Let's take a look at the Athlon Argos BTR Gen 2 8-34x56 scope. Have not even looked at this yet. And of course we've got instructions, customary cleaning cloth, Allen keys, yes, yes, yes. Good to all that. Ooh, fresh scope. Oh, it's got caps too. Nice. Look at that, huh? Very, very cool. Okay, so that is the scope. And we've got Athlon precision rings. These are 30 millimeters, so we're just gonna work with the tube there. Hopefully the height is gonna work here. I really like these rings. These are really nice. Get that out of there. Very, very cool. Okay. Finally, I bought an Evolution Gunworks 20 MOA rail, and that's gonna kind of round off the install. We have this Weaver rail on there. Not too excited about that. This should be really nice. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the scope install, and I'll be back to show you the results. So as you just saw, we had Athlon rings and we had the scope, everything in the box. And I'll have to say the install went really straightforward. This is an Evolution Gunworks 20 MOA rail that I had installed on the rifle. I installed the rings, set the scope, set my eye relief, torqued things down, got everything perfectly level, and I was ready for action in absolutely no time. And as you saw, I had a lot of fun shooting this rifle. I think this rifle looks way better. I think this rifle works way better. I'm gonna call it the Varmint Destroyer because that is what I hope to use this rifle for. Okay, now let's transition into the technical details. So I wanted to cover the specs. We did some testing on our optics test rig that I'll share, and we'll kind of go over those facts and figures. So the Argos BTR 8-34x56 Gen 2 is kind of the official name of this scope. The MSRP is just $499.99 for its first focal plane in this magnification range. That is super affordable. So you're going to find this video in the budget shooting and reloading playlist here on my channel. If you want to see other budget-oriented content, definitely check that out. 8 to 34x magnification range is really impressive. And sometimes when I'm shooting really precisely, that extra magnification is super helpful. You might encounter a little bit too much mirage for that to be useful in certain circumstances. You can just back the mag off and mitigate that in that kind of way. If I'm shooting off the bench, I really like higher magnification because it helps me aim more precise. It's got a standard 30 millimeter tube, which is great because that gives you different options for one-piece mounts, rings, that sort of thing. 0.1 mil clicks. I've kind of moved pretty much everything over to mil. I like to get MOA scopes in once in a while just to kind of for some variety, and I know some of you prefer MOA, and I want to show that, but mil is good when we're shooting competitively. That's the units that we're using for angle, and so it makes sense to use that for other things as well, like hunting, in my opinion. First focal plane. So first focal plane is great because you know your holdover is going to be accurate, whether it be at low magnification or high magnification. The only downside there is if your magnification is really low, your reticle is going to be pretty thin and a little bit harder to see. So Athlon offers other scopes in the second focal plane type of reticle, and that means you're going to have a constant reticle image in your scope regardless of magnification, but there's only one magnification value where the holdover marks are going to be accurate. Again, it's about trade-offs. It's got a zero stop. Zero stop is really easy to set. If you haven't used one, typically what you're going to do with a precision rifle is have your rifle zeroed and have your zero stop set. And then when you go to a certain distance, you're going to dial up based on your dope card or your ballistic solver on your phone. You're going to go say 5.6 mils, and then as soon as you're done shooting at that range, you're going to want to dial it back down to zero. The zero stop helps you do that without even looking and makes it so that you don't get off by a complete revolution, that sort of thing. Side focus is going to be for setting your parallax and focus together. Illuminated reticle. This is really great when you're shooting at night or at twilight or at dawn. Any of those times where you need that little bit of boost in visibility for your reticle. For instance, we have an illuminated coyote target at 400 yards that we sometimes shoot from beside my cabin at night. And to have that illuminated reticle makes it a lot easier to see because there's only a very small illuminated portion in the middle. And a black reticle on the dark of night does not help you aim at all. This scope is also waterproof, fogproof, and shockproof. And they attain that with the sealing in the scope and also the fact that it's argon perched. Okay, 32 ounce weight is actually very similar to we just took a look at the Leupold Mark V HD 5-25. It was 30 ounces. And the scope has a little bit smaller main body, has higher magnification range. So, definite attributes that are trade-offs as well from one product to another or one model to another. Okay. So I looked on Amazon, and this scope has a 4.4 out of 5 rating, which is really good. So I guess I'm not the only one that likes this scope. Let's talk about the APMR reticle. This is a good, straightforward reticle with Christmas tree. So you've got both elevation and windage holdover at the bottom part of the sight picture for the reticle there. And what I like about it is it has some of that functionality, but it's not overly cluttered. You've got 1/2 mil subtensions. That's the kind of resolution that you have for your holdovers. And I think that's a good trade-off between too much detail and not enough detail. And as I mentioned, the fact that this scope is first focal plane means that you're going to have accurate holdover, but your reticle will diminish in size as you go down in magnification power. Okay, so like I said, we put this scope on the Ultimate Reloader Optics test rig, which is a very special fixture we've engineered and fabricated in-house. In fact, I did all that work. And what it enables you to do is position a camera behind the scope with a high degree of precision and to move the camera with precision. If I want to move the camera to the right, simulating your eye moving to the right 1/1000th of an inch or even a 1/2,000th, I can do that. And you might say, why would you need that? Well, it's funny. We were looking when we were testing this scope, even 5/1000ths of an inch can make a real difference with how the image shifts when you're looking through the scope, right? You've got that sort of black halo around the edges of what the scope is showing you, right? That kind of shifts. The darkness and lightness of each side shifts when you move your head side to side, that kind of thing. We'll talk about that when we talk about parallax. So this is a great way to quantify things like tracking and image distortion and the ability for the scope to offer parallax that will allow your eye to move but not your point of aim to move. Okay, so tracking did well. You can see here we've got good reticle alignment. You can see that in the center image on this diagram. And I have these red arrows showing where the corresponding reticle bar moves to, right? If you're right 3 mils, the reticle moves to the left, right? And when you move the reticle to the left, your rifle is going to move to the right to center things back up, and so on and so forth. So tracking, we go up and down 3 mils, and we go to the left and the right 3 mils. This scope performed very well. The conditions that we had a little bit of mirage because of the light on the hill, and we saw a tiny bit of shift in the reticle just due to that alone. So with that in mind here, I think this is about as good as we can expect for any scope to track. Very, very accurate. The clicks on this scope are really nice and tactile and offer a really nice sound. right? And so that is an important thing that I look for, so that if I'm dialing while I'm looking through the scope, which is a pretty common thing for me to do, I can feel it and I can hear it and I can count if I need to. Super important detail. So tracking did well. We looked at the parallax, and so the parallax test is to center up the camera behind the scope and then to move it to the left 50 thousandths of an inch and then to move it to the right 50 thousandths of an inch. So there's a total of a 1/10 of an inch of movement, accounting for both sides, moving to each side. And take a look at this. What I did was I dialed it exactly to 100, indicated on the side focus, and what we have is the exact same positioning here for all three. So parallax is implemented very well with this scope. I have a high degree of confidence with that parallax setting and the fact that your point of aim is not going to shift around as your head is moving around behind the scope. And image distortion, you can see here things look really good all the way around, just a little bit along the top, the corner up here where you see 3R very slightly. Not something that's going to affect the performance of the scope. Overall, really, really good result here. So, in our testing in the field, this scope did really well. In our testing on the optics test rig, it held up super good as well. One thing that I would like to do is shoot with the scope at night with the illuminated reticle. I haven't done that yet, so that's something that I'm going to follow up with there. At this price point, I think this scope is going to be really difficult to beat. What I'd like to know is, what's your feedback? Are you running this exact scope? What kind of a rig do you have it installed on, and what are you doing in terms of the type of shooting? Long-range target shooting, hunting varmints, etc. Tell me all about it. Drop a comment, we'll start that discussion. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel, or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. If you want to learn lucrative gunsmithing like what I show here on the channel, including building custom rifles and Cerakote plus a whole bunch more, you're going to want to check out the Colorado School of Trades, schooloftrades.edu. Thanks again for watching.